Aliens laugh and attack for fun, but humans destroy an empire. The Concorde Lance glided through the Orion Arm, a sleek diplomatic vessel of chrome and soft blue glow, bound for a treaty signing with the Lyra Consortium. Humanity's trusted allies, the Consortium, had shared tech schematics, backed colony claims, and stood as a beacon of galactic partnership. No one doubted their loyalty. The ship's lounge hummed with quiet confidence. Ambassadors sipped synthetic coffee, their murmurs blending with the low thrum of engines. Outside, stars streaked past in lazy arcs, framing a viewport that promised safety. Marcus Vale leaned against a bulkhead, his tall, lean frame unassuming in a tailored dark suit. Short brown hair framed a pale face, shaped by too many months under artificial light. His role as attaché marked him as a paper pusher, a man of memos and schedules. But his eyes betrayed him, sharp, restless, scanning every face, every exit, weighing the room like a chessboard mid-game. He adjusted his tie, silk whispering against his collar, and watched the door cycle open and shut. A harsh crackle split the air. The lounge froze. A hologram flickered above the central table, projecting Lord Ryan Vire, a Vorn warlord whose bioluminescent skin pulsed with blue veins. His energy scythe gleamed, its edge catching light like a predator's tooth. His voice rumbled, heavy with contempt. You humans scuttle from your little dirt world, begging for scraps. Today that ends. A laugh like grinding metal followed, and the hologram vanished. Silence choked the room. Then alarms screamed, red strobes bathing the walls in blood. Vorn Legion ships uncloaked outside, dark silhouettes against the stars. Plasma torpedoes streaked forward, slamming into the Concorde Lance. The hull shuddered, metal groaning as breaches tore open. Lights flickered. Gravity wobbled. The lounge erupted in chaos, shouts, overturned chairs, and staffers diving for cover. Marcus didn't blink. His hand slipped inside his jacket, drawing a kinetic sidearm with a fluid motion. He fired, the weapon's rapid burst cutting through the din. 6 Vorn boarders stormed in, their exosuits clanking, claws extended, rifles glowing with charge. The first took 3 rounds to the chest, armor cracking like dry wood. He staggered and Marcus pivoted, aiming low. A shot to the knee joint sent sparks flying, dropping the alien in a heap. Another Vorn lunged, claws aimed at a cowering aide. Marcus's reinforced pen, nano-edged, not ink, flashed out, piercing the neck seal of the armor. The alien choked, collapsing. Marcus moved like a machine, precise and relentless. His steel-capped shoes met the third Vorn's claw foot, shattering exoskeleton with a sickening crunch. The alien reeled, and Marcus's elbow found its jaw, snapping the head back. 2 boarders charged together, plasma bolts scorching the deck. Marcus rolled behind a flipped table, wood splintering above him. He came up firing, a round shattering one of Vorn's visors. The alien clawed blindly. Marcus tackled the other, hitting the floor hard. Claws raked his suit, tearing fabric but not the reinforced weave beneath. He drove his knee into the groin plate, earning a grunt. Twisting free, he grabbed the fallen rifle, swung it like a club, and cracked the scythe arm. The energy weapon clattered free. Marcus jammed his pen into its power cell. Sparks exploded. The Vorn convulsed and went still. 18 seconds later, the lounge was quiet. Smoke curled from vents, the air thick with ozone and charred metal. Bodies littered the floor. Marcus holstered his sidearm, straightened his torn jacket, and fixed his tie with deliberate calm. They think I'm a clerk. Good. Let them underestimate me. The thought settled like a loaded round in his mind. Ambassador Aurora Price rose from behind a chair, her silver-white diplomat attire catching the emergency lights. Tall and graceful, with dark hair pinned tightly, her green eyes locked on Marcus, wide with shock. The quiet attaché, the one who fetched her data slates, had just become something else entirely. "Marcus, what in the stars was that?" Her voice held a diplomat's poise, but a tremor betrayed her. He met her gaze, his expression cool as the void outside. "Borders, Ambassador. They're handled." The crew stirred, medics rushing to the wounded. Aurora snapped into action, her fingers flying over a console. "Seal the lounge. Do it now." Doors hissed shut, locking with a heavy thud. Alarms wailed on. The ship listed, hull breaches venting precious air. Aurora turned to the viewport, where Vorn ships circled like predators. "Engineer, talk to me. What's our status?" The comm crackled. "Hull's torn up, ma'am. Drives are shaky, maybe 60%. Ossuary station's our closest neutral port. 2 hours if we redline it." "Redline it," Aurora ordered, her jaw tight. She paced, mind racing through legal clauses, galactic trade accord articles. The attack broke every rule. Lyra would stand with them, condemn the Vorn, rally the council. Her faith in that alliance held firm, even as the deck trembled beneath her. Marcus watched her silent, his mind a ticking clock. The crew scrambled, hands dancing over panels to stabilize the ship. The conquered lance groaned, righted itself, and pushed toward Ossuary Station, a bone-white refuge in the black. Aurora glanced at Marcus, her nod sharp and certain. "Stay close. We're not done yet." He inclined his head, suit settling over the hidden arsenal. The lounge fell quiet, save for the strained hum of engines. Stars blurred past the viewport. The game had just begun. The Concorde lance limped through the void, its hull scarred and leaking faint trails of vapor. Ossuary Station loomed ahead, a city carved into the fossilized spine of some ancient cosmic beast, its bone-white arches glowing under neon veins of light. Jagged towers sprouted from the skeletal frame, pulsing with the hum of a million lives. Docking bays yawned open like mouths, swallowing ships whole. The station was neutral ground, a haven for diplomats and smugglers alike, where deals were struck in shadows and laws bent like soft metal. Marcus Vale slipped through the crowd as the ship docked, his torn suit drawing no eyes in the chaos of the port. His steps were deliberate, weaving past hawkers peddling glow tubes and black market tech. The air smelled of burnt circuits and stale air recyclers. Neon signs flickered, casting jagged reflections on the bone-smooth walls. Marcus's eyes scanned the undercity alleys, where deals whispered in corners could turn deadly. He needed answers. The Vorn attack wasn't random, and the Lyra Consortium's silence gnawed at him. Aurora Price stood on the Concorde Lance's bridge, her silver-white attire pristine despite the ship's wounds. She faced a hollow screen, station enforcers glaring back in their spiked exosuits. Their leader, a squat alien with 4 eyes, barked demands to impound the ship for security checks. Aurora's voice cut through, sharp as a blade. "Check your own laws, Captain. Galactic Trade Accord, Section 47, Clause 3. Diplomatic vessels are immune to seizure in neutral ports. Or do you want a formal grievance filed with the Council?" Her tone was ice, but her eyes burned, clinging to the belief that Lyra would back her protest. The enforcer hesitated, mandibles twitching. "You've got 2 days, human. Don't push it." The screen winked out. Aurora exhaled, steadying herself. Her aide, a wiry young man, watched in awe as she spun legal jargon into a shield. "She's like a damn lawyer and a general rolled into one," he muttered to a crewmate, who nodded, eyes wide. Aurora's faith in Lyra held firm. She'd built her career on their alliance, but a flicker of doubt stirred. Why hadn't they condemned the Vorn yet? Marcus moved deeper into the undercity, where the air grew thick with the hum of illegal tech. He ducked into an alley, boots silent on the bone-slick ground. 4 bounty hunters waited ahead, their plasma rifles glowing faintly. They hadn't seen him. Marcus palmed an EMP grenade, hacked from a smuggler's stash earlier. He tossed it low. The pulse flared, and their rifles died with a whine. The hunters spun, cursing in guttural tongues. Marcus was already moving. His collapsible baton snapped out, cracking one across the temple. Another lunged. Marcus sidestepped, driving his steel-capped heel into a knee joint. The hunter crumpled, howling. The third drew a vibro blade. Marcus caught the wrist, twisted hard, and slammed the hunter's face into the wall. The fourth tried to run. Marcus's pen, nano-edged and lethal, flew, pinning the hunter's sleeve to a crate. He closed the gap, retrieving a datapad from the man's belt. A quick hack revealed coordinates. Citadel Shardfall, a Vorn asteroid fortress, the attack source. Marcus pocketed the pad, his face unreadable. "Should have picked a better contract," he said, voice low, before vanishing into the neon haze. A merchant, perched on a crate nearby, watched Marcus melt into the crowd. "That guy's a ghost in a suit," he whispered to a buyer, who nodded, eyes darting. Word was spreading already, a ripple in the undercities' pulse. Marcus found Kestrel in a grimy repair bay, the cyborg's six-jointed arms weaving through a tangle of wires. Kestrel's faceplate, featureless save for glowing slits, turned to him. "You the one stirring up trouble?" they rasped, voice like static. Marcus laid out his plan. "Turn a derelict fighter into a weapon." Kestrel snorted, arms pausing. "You're building a damn bomb, human. Hope you know what you're doing." But their hands were already moving, intrigued by the challenge. Aurora's voice crackled through Marcus's earpiece, encrypted and urgent. "Vorn ships are massing near Shardfall. I'm tying up the station's red tape, but it won't hold long." She'd filed an injunction, painting Lyra as the Vorn's victim to keep the enforcers at bay. Her words were steady, but Marcus caught the edge in her tone, doubt creeping in. He grunted acknowledgement, eyes on Kestrel's work. The cyborg hauled a rusted Hawk-class fighter into the bay, its hull pitted like old bone. "This thing's a relic," Kestrel muttered, "but I'll make it fly." Marcus scanned the bay, the flickering lights casting shadows like claws. The station's bone architecture pressed in, amplifying the tension. Aurora's doubt mirrored his own. Lyra's silence wasn't just odd, it was wrong. The datapad's data burned in his pocket. He needed more. A guild den, a console, something to crack the Vorn's orders wide open. He turned to Kestrel. "How long?" 12 hours if I don't sleep." Kestrel's arms whirred, pulling panels apart. "You owe me for this suit." Marcus nodded, already moving. The undercity pulsed around him, alive with whispers and danger. Aurora's legal battle bought him time, but the clock was ticking. Lyra's alliance, once a bedrock, felt like sand slipping through his fingers. He tightened his grip on the datapad. Answers waited at Shardfall, and he'd carved them out himself. The repair bay stank of oil and scorched metal, its walls a patchwork of bone and steel lit by flickering arc lamps. Ossuary Station's skeletal heart pulsed around Marcus Vale, the air heavy with the grind of machinery and Kestrel's muttered curses. The Hawk-class fighter sat in the center, a rusted hulk stripped bare, its pitted hull catching shadows like scars. Marcus stood by, his torn suit a stark contrast to the chaos, his eyes locked on the cyborg's 6 arms dancing over the ship's frame. Every second counted. Citadel Shardfall waited, and with it, the truth behind the Vorn's attack. Kestrel, the genderless mechanic, moved with relentless precision, their faceplate glowing faintly as they welded ion thrusters to the fighter's skeleton. "This thing's older than half the station," they grumbled, voice crackling like a bad comm. "You're not flying it. You're launching a damn missile." Marcus didn't blink, his voice steady. "A missile that survives its own blast. Can you make it work?" Kestrel's arms paused, then resumed, a grudging nod in their motion. They respected the human's cold focus, even if they didn't say it. Marcus outlined the plan. Turn the Hawk into a kinetic spear, a one-way strike with a heavy warhead and a fortified ejection pod. The idea was brutal, simple. Smash through Shardfall's defenses, eject at the last second, let the explosion clear his path. Kestrel snorted, hauling a slab of high-density alloy from a scrap pile. "You're crazier than I thought, Suit, but I like a challenge." They set to work, bolting the alloy to the pod's frame, reinforcing it to withstand a high-speed escape. Marcus moved through the undercity, bartering with smugglers for parts. A cloaked figure traded him a shield generator, prototype tech, scavenged from a wrecked freighter. Marcus handed over a stack of untraceable credits, his face unreadable. "No questions," he said, cutting off the smuggler's curiosity. The man backed off, eyes darting. Marcus returned to the bay, the generator slung over his shoulder, its weight a promise of survival. Aurora's voice crackled through his earpiece, sharp and controlled. "Marcus, I've got intel. Vorn ships are tightening their net around Shardfall. I'm drowning the station in legal filings, but the enforcers are getting antsy." She'd woven a web of galactic trade accord clauses, painting Lyra as the Vorn's victim to keep the authorities at bay. But her tone carried a new edge, her faith in Lyra fraying. "They haven't responded to my hails. Something's off." Marcus grunted, eyes on the fighter. "Keep them busy. I'm close." Kestrel installed the shield generator. Its hum is low and steady. "This'll take a hell of a hit," they said, wiping grease on their chassis. "But those thrusters, they'll burn hot and fast. Don't push them too long." Marcus tested the ejection pod's release, the mechanism snapping open with a clean hiss. He climbed inside, the cramped space pressing against his shoulders. Tactical displays flickered to life, mapping Shardfall's coordinates. The spear was taking shape, a weapon of last resort. A bounty guild informant lurked outside the bay, his eyes glinting in the neon glow. He watched Marcus barter, noted the fighter's transformation, and tapped a message into a hidden comm. "Humans building something. Headed for Shardfall." The words flew to Vorn's handlers, a warning of the ghost in the suit. The informant melted into the crowd, unaware Marcus had clocked him from the corner of his eye. Hours bled away. Kestrel's arms never stopped, welding, wiring, cursing. The fighter's hull gleamed under fresh alloy, its warhead packed with salvaged explosives. Marcus checked the thrusters, their glow casting sharp shadows. "Good work," he said, voice flat but sincere. Kestrel waved a hand, dismissive. "Don't thank me yet. You gotta live through this stunt first." Aurora's resolve hardened back on the conquered lance. She paced the bridge, her silver-white attire catching the dim light. Her legal maneuvers were a shield, but cracks were forming. Lyra's silence wasn't just odd. It was a betrayal she couldn't yet name. She sent Marcus another burst of intel, her voice firm. "You've got a window. Make it count." Her doubt fueled a new fire, a shift from diplomacy to defiance. Humanity wasn't just a player in this game. It could rewrite the board. The bay's lights flickered, the station's bone walls seeming to close in. The spear stood ready, its engines humming with latent power. Marcus climbed aboard, the cockpit's displays bathing his face in green light. Kestrel stepped back, arms crossed. "Don't die out there, Suit. I'd hate to waste my best work." Marcus gave a rare half-smile, barely a twitch. "No promises." The undercity pulsed outside, alive with whispers of the human who moved like a shadow. Aurora's doubt grew, but so did her strength, her naivety burning away. Marcus strapped in, the spear's controls solid under his hands. Shardfall waited, a fortress hiding answers. And maybe a trap. He didn't care. The truth was worth the risk. The Hawk-class spear thrummed in the repair bay, its hull a patchwork of new alloy and old scars, ready to carve through the void. Marcus Vale sat in the cockpit, his torn suit tight against his frame, eyes scanning the tactical displays. Ossuary Station's bone walls loomed outside, neon lights flickering like a pulse. The data pad from the bounty hunters burned in his pocket, its data pointing to Citadel Shardfall and a Vorn fleet bristling with plasma cannons. But the encrypted Lyra consortium payments he'd glimpsed hinted at something darker. Marcus's jaw tightened. Aurora's faith in Lyra was crumbling, and he needed proof to shatter it completely. He slipped into the undercity, moving through alleys where black market tech hummed, in shadows hid knives. The Bounty Guild den was a squat bunker, its entrance guarded by two Vorn in heavy exosuits. Marcus palmed a sonic disruptor, a palm-sized device scavenged from a smuggler's stash. He activated it, and a low hum pulsed, dropping the guards to their knees, clutching their helmets. He stepped over them, silent, and breached the door with a quick hack. Inside, the den buzzed with hollow screens and the chatter of contracts. A console glowed in the corner, its data streams a goldmine. Marcus jacked in the datapad. Lines of code flickered, revealing Lyra's payments to the Vorn, millions in untraceable credits funneled through shell accounts. His gut twisted. The consortium, humanity's trusted ally, was bankrolling the attack. He copied the data, his movements precise, but a Vorn assassin stirred in the shadows. Marcus spun, smoke grenade already rolling. It burst, clouding the room. The assassin lunged, vibroblade gleaming. Marcus sidestepped, his collapsible baton snapping out to crack the alien's wrist. The blade clattered. A knee to the chest sent the Vorn sprawling. More boots echoed outside. Marcus grabbed the console's drive and slipped out a side vent, the smoke masking his exit. He moved fast, blending into the undercity's chaos. The data weighed heavily. Aurora needed to see it, but he needed more. A direct line to Shardfall's command. He sent her the files through an encrypted burst, his voice low over the comm. Check the numbers, Ambassador. Lyra's not what you think. On the conquered lance, Aurora paced the bridge, her silver-white attire catching the dim glow of emergency lights. The files hit her console, and her eyes narrowed, scanning the payments. Her faith in Lyra, once a bedrock, cracked like thin ice. She'd spent years touting their alliance, and now this. Her aide watched, his voice hushed with awe. She's tearing through those clauses like a blade, he whispered to a crewmate, marveling at Aurora's relentless legal filings. She'd lodged a galactic grievance, accusing the Vorn of breaking neutral space treaties, still clinging to the hope Lyra would back her. But the silence from their allies stung. She tapped her comm. Marcus, keep digging. I'm holding the line here. Kestrel's voice cut through Marcus's earpiece, sharp and urgent. Suit, those thrusters on your spear? They'll overheat if you push them too hard. Plan your run tight. Marcus grunted, already climbing into the cockpit. The spear's displays flared to life, mapping Shardfall's defenses. Station enforcers were closing in, their spiked exosuits clanking through the bay. Aurora's legal injunctions had bought time, but not enough. Marcus sealed the cockpit, the hatch hissing shut. Kestrel, it's ready. I'm going. The cyborg's arms whirred, making final adjustments. You're a lunatic, you know that? They said, voice half admiring, half exasperated. Marcus didn't answer, his fingers dancing over the controls. The spear's engines roared, shaking the bay. Enforcers shouted, weapons raised, but Marcus hit the thrusters. The fighter shot forward, bursting from ossuary's docking maw into the black. The void swallowed him, stars blurring past. Shardfall's coordinates locked in, a jagged asteroid fortress bristling with danger. The Lyra payments gnawed at him. Aurora's doubt was growing, her voice sharper with each comm. She'd been naive, trusting Lyra's polished promises, but now she was waking up. Marcus gripped the controls, the spear's hum steady under his hands. The Vorn were just pawns. Lyra was the hand moving them, and he'd expose it. Aurora stood on the bridge, her fingers clenched around a data slate. The crew worked in tense silence, patching the ship's wounds. Her grievance filings piled up, each one a jab at the Vorn. But Lyra's silence screamed louder. She'd believed in them, built humanity's future on their word. Now the truth clawed at her. She sent Marcus another burst of intel, her voice hard. Whatever you find, make it fast. We're out of time. The spear streaked through space, its engines a low growl. Marcus's suit, torn but functional, pressed against the cockpit's confines. The undercities' whispers followed him, tales of a ghost in a suit, moving where no one dared. He didn't care about legends, only answers. Shardfall loomed closer, a fortress hiding Lyra's betrayal. Marcus tightened his grip. The hunt was on, and he wouldn't stop until the truth was carved bare. The Hawk-class spear screamed through the void, a lone arrow aimed at Citadel Shardfall's heart. Marcus Vale gripped the controls, his torn suit tight against his lean frame. The cockpit's green glow casting sharp angles across his face. The asteroid fortress loomed ahead, a jagged mass of rock and steel bristling with turrets. Its defenses lit up, automated cannons spitting plasma in wide arcs. Marcus jinked the spear left, then right, dodging fiery lances that scorched the hull. The displays flickered, warning of rising heat in the thrusters. Kestrel's voice echoed in his earpiece, sharp and staticky. "Told you, suit! Don't cook those engines!" Marcus didn't answer. His eyes locked on the targeting grid, plotting a collision course with Shardfall's outer defenses. The spear was a weapon, not a ship, built to hit hard and break. He checked the ejection pod status. Green. Ready. The fortress grew larger, its surface pocked with hangars and gun emplacements. Marcus pushed the thrusters, the spear shuddering as it hit max speed. Alarms blared. He ignored them. One shot. That's all he had. At the last second, he slammed the eject button. The pod tore free, hurtling toward a hangar as the spear plowed into a defense array. A fireball bloomed, silent in the vacuum, shredding turrets and scattering debris. The pod slammed into the hangar floor, skidding across the metal with a screech. Marcus kicked the hatch open, rolling out into a haze of smoke and sparks. His suit's sensors screamed, radiation spikes from damaged reactors. Time was short. He moved through fire-lit corridors, the fortress's innards a maze of jagged steel and pulsing conduits. Vorn guards patrolled, their energy lances casting eerie glows. Marcus hugged the shadows, his laser cutter slicing through a locked blast door with a low hum. Two guards rounded a corner, lances raised. Marcus struck first, his kinetic sidearm barking. One dropped, chest plate shattered. The other swung, lance grazing Marcus's arm, searing fabric. He rolled, drove his nano-edged pen into the guard's knee joint, and finished with a baton strike to the helmet. The Vorn crumpled, silent. Aurora's voice crackled through his comm, sharp and urgent. "Marcus, I've hacked their comms. Broadcasting static on their channels. It's chaos in there." Her work on the Concord lands was relentless, her legal filings still tying up ossuary's enforcers. But her tone had shifted, harder, colder. Lyra's betrayal was sinking in, her trust in their alliance replaced by a fierce need to fight back. "Find Veer. End this." Marcus planted micro-explosives on power relays, each device small enough to fit in his palm, but packing enough punch to cripple systems. They hummed softly, timers ticking down. He moved deeper, guided by Kestrel's remote link. "Left at the next junction," the cyborg rasped. "Veer's chamber's close. Watch your back." Marcus nodded to himself, boots silent on the scorched deck. A Vorn soldier, stationed at a console, froze as Marcus passed. The alien's eyes widened, a whisper escaping. "The human phantom!" Fear rippled through him, his claws trembling as he fumbled for his weapon. Marcus was already gone, a shadow in the smoke. Drones buzzed ahead, their lasers slicing the air. Marcus dove behind a crate, beams grazing his suit's reinforced weave. He fired back, sidearm rounds punching through metal casings. Sparks rained. One drone spiraled, crashing in a burst of flame. The others closed in. Marcus tossed a smoke grenade, clouding the corridor. He sprinted through, his suit's sensors screaming about rising radiation. 12 minutes, maybe less, before the reactors went critical. He reached a sealed bulkhead, the laser cutter humming as it carved through. The fortress groaned, explosions from his charges rocking distant halls. Vorn's shouts echoed, panicked and disjointed, thanks to Aurora's hack. Marcus slipped through the door, entering a wider corridor lined with glowing conduits. Veer's chamber was closed. The air grew heavier, the radiation warnings flashing red. His suit held, but the tears in the fabric let heat creep in, stinging his skin. Aurora's voice came again, steady despite the strain. "Marcus, the station's enforcers are breaking through my injunctions. We're running out of time." Her words carried a new weight, pride in humanity's fight, born from the ashes of Lyra's lies. Marcus didn't respond. He didn't need to. The truth was in Shardfall, and he'd rip it free. A final gauntlet of drones blocked his path, their lasers cutting crisscross patterns. Marcus slid low, firing as he moved, each shot precise. One drone exploded, another veered into a wall. The last grazed his shoulder, pain flaring. He gritted his teeth, pushed forward. The chamber door loomed ahead, massive and etched with Vorn runes. Marcus checked his sidearm, his pen and his baton. All ready. Veer waited inside, and with him, the key to Lyra's betrayal. The fortress trembled, time slipping away. Marcus squared his shoulders. The hunt was almost over. The chamber door groaned open, revealing a cavernous hall lit by bioluminescent crystals that pulsed like a heartbeat. Citadel Shardfall's core was a brutal expanse of jagged steel and glowing rock, its air thick with the hum of unseen machines. Marcus Vale stepped inside, his torn suit scorched and clinging to his lean frame, the radiation warnings in his sensors screaming red. Lord Ryan Vire stood at the center, his bioluminescent skin shimmering, veins glowing blue beneath metallic flesh. His energy scythe hummed, its blades slicing through the air with a sound like tearing silk. Marcus's eyes narrowed, calculating angles, his sidearm heavy in his hand. Veer's gaze locked on him, a sneer curling his alien features. "A human scurrying into my lair? You think you can break an empire?" His voice was a low growl, dripping with arrogance. Marcus didn't flinch, his voice cold and steady. "Not breaking your empire, Veer. Just your reputation." He stepped forward, baton snapping out in one hand, the other gripping his weapon. The air crackled with tension, the crystals casting eerie shadows across the hall. Vire lunged, scythe swinging in a wide arc. The blade carved through a steel pillar, sparks flying as it sheared clean. Marcus dove, rolling across the deck, his suit's weave holding against the heat. He snapped a monofilament wire trap from his belt, tossing it low. The wire snagged Veer's scythe arm, tangling the weapon for a split second. Marcus seized the moment, firing his sidearm. Rounds slammed into Veer's armor, denting but not piercing. The warlord roared, ripping free and charging, his speed unnatural. Marcus used the environment, sprinting toward a massive girder overhead. He planted a micro-explosive at its base, then dodged as Veer's scythe slashed inches from his back. The charge detonated, and the girder crashed down, catching Veer's flank. The alien staggered, his armor sparking. Marcus closed in, baton cracking against Veer's knee joint. The warlord swung wildly, blade grazing Marcus's arm, pain flaring hot. Marcus gritted his teeth, drove his nano-edged pen into the size power cell. Sparks erupted, and the blade flickered out. Veer roared, lunging with claws extended. Marcus sidestepped, planting a neural stunner against the warlord's neck. A pulse of electricity dropped Veer to one knee, his bioluminescent armor dimming. Marcus didn't hesitate. He bound Vire's arms with reinforced cuffs, dragging him to the guild console at the chamber's edge. "Open it," Marcus said, his voice like steel. Veer glared, defiance in his eyes, but Marcus pressed the stunner harder. The warlord complied, fingers trembling as he unlocked the system. The console flared to life, data streaming across its screen. Payments from the Lyra Consortium, millions in credits, were funneled to the Vorn for the Conquered Lance attack. Marcus's jaw tightened. Aurora's voice crackled through his comm, sharp with fury. I'm seeing it, Marcus. Lyra. They played us all. Her legal backdoors kicked in, amplifying the console's data to galactic channels. Humanity's diplomats, watching from distant stations, gasped as the truth hit. Lyra, their trusted ally, had orchestrated the crisis. The galaxy reeled, outrage spreading like wildfire. Former allies turning on the consortium with bitter scorn. Marcus secured Veer, his suit now in tatters, scars visible beneath. The warlord slumped, defeated, his arrogance shattered. You'll pay for this, human, Veer hissed, but his voice lacked fire. Marcus leaned close, his tone ice cold. You already did. The chamber shook, reactors destabilizing, radiation spiking. Marcus hauled Veer toward a side exit, the fortress groaning around them. Aurora's voice came again, steady but fierce. The broadcast's live. Lyra's done. Get out, Marcus. Her doubt had burned away, replaced by a blazing pride in humanity's defiance. She'd been naive, trusting Lyra's promises, but now she wielded their betrayal like a weapon. The conquered land's crew cheered as her legal filings flooded galactic courts, demanding justice. Diplomats who'd once praised Lyra now cursed their name, their trust shattered. A Vorn soldier, hiding in the shadows, watched Marcus drag Veer away. The phantom, he whispered, fear choking his voice. The human moved like a specter, unstoppable, sowing chaos in his wake. The soldier fled, spreading word of the ghost in the suit. The fortress trembled, explosions rocking distant halls. Marcus moved fast. Veer in tow, his suit's sensors screaming. Radiation burned through the air, stinging his exposed skin. He reached a hangar, a stolen Vorn shuttle waiting. He shoved Veer inside, sealing the hatch. The truth was out. Lyra's duplicity exposed, their empire of lies crumbling. Marcus's resolve fueled Aurora's transformation, her diplomatic finesse now a blade of human pride. The shuttle's engines roared, ready to carry them from the dying fortress. The climax had broken, and humanity stood taller for it. The stolen Vorn shuttle roared out of Citadel Shardfall's hangar, its engines straining as Marcus Vale piloted through a hail of debris. The asteroid fortress burned behind him, its reactors rupturing in silent fireballs against the void. Lord Ryan Veer sat bound in the co-pilot's seat, his bioluminescent skin dim, his arrogance reduced to sullen silence. Marcus's torn suit hung in shreds, scars glinting on his exposed arms, but his posture stayed rigid, eyes locked on the nav screen. The Concord Lance waited at Ossuary Station, and with it, Aurora Price, now armed with the truth that Lyra had betrayed them all. Aurora stood on the Concord Lance's bridge, her silver-white attire catching the flicker of emergency lights. Her console blazed with galactic broadcasts, Lyra's payments to the Vorn streaming across every major channel. Diplomats from a dozen systems voiced outrage, their once unshakable trust in the consortium shattered. They played us for fools, one hissed over a hollow feed, his voice thick with betrayal. Aurora's lips tightened, her earlier naivety burned away. She tapped her comm, voice steady but fierce. Marcus, the galaxy's watching. Lyra's done. Get back here. Marcus jinked the shuttle, dodging a stray plasma burst from Shardfall's collapsing defenses. The nav screen showed Ossuary's bone-white spires growing closer. He didn't answer Aurora, his focus razor-sharp. Veer shifted, muttering, You think this ends it, human? Marcus spared him a glance, cold as the void. It ends when I say it does. The warlord fell silent, his cuffs clinking. Marcus pushed the engines harder, the shuttle shuddering but holding. On Ossuary, Kestrel watched the broadcast in their repair bay, the glow of a hollow screen reflecting off their faceplate. That human's crazier than I thought, they muttered, a grudging respect in their static-laced voice. Their 6 arms idled, the Hawk-class spear's success a point of pride. Galactic markets flickered on the screen, Lyra's trade empire crumbling as allies pulled contracts, their reputation in ashes. Merchants who'd once toasted Lyra's name now spat it, their trust broken by the human phantom's truth. Aurora seized the moment, her legal team drafting a treaty that flipped the game. Equal trade rights for humanity, plus reparations to rebuild what the Vorn had broken. She paced the bridge, her voice sharp over the comm. Lyra's got 3 days to sign, or we escalate to the Galactic Council. Her aide watched, eyes wide, whispering to a crewmate, "She's not just fighting, she's rewriting the rules." Aurora's transformation was complete, her diplomatic finesse now a weapon forged in betrayal's fire. Marcus landed the shuttle in Ossuary's docking bay, the Concorde lance looming nearby, its patched hull a testament to survival. He hauled Veer out, the warlord stumbling under the weight of his defeat. Station enforcers backed off, Aurora's legal injunctions still holding them at bay. Marcus marched Veer to the ship, his torn tie flapping but his stride unbroken. Crew members parted, staring at the man who'd turned a fortress to rubble. Aurora met him at the airlock, her green eyes blazing with pride. "You did it," she said, voice low but warm. "We did it." The Vorn Legion's remnants scattered, their contract with Lyra severed. Word of the phantom spread, mercenaries whispering of a human too dangerous to cross. Marcus handed Veer to the crew, who locked him in a holding cell. He adjusted his ruined tie, a silent defiance in the gesture. Aurora watched, her doubt replaced by a fierce belief in humanity's strength. "They thought we were weak," she said almost to herself. "They were wrong." Galactic news outlets buzzed, dubbing Marcus the Phantom in the Suit. Former Lyra allies flooded channels with condemnation, their voices raw with betrayal. "We trusted them," a diplomat snarled on a feed, "and they sold us out." Humanity's envoys, once heartbroken, now stood taller, empowered by the truth. Aurora's treaty draft hit Lyra's desks, a demand backed by the galaxy's outrage. The consortium had no choice but to bend. Marcus stood on the bridge, silent, scanning for threats. Aurora glanced at him, her voice softening. "You knew, didn't you? Lyra was never our friend." Marcus met her gaze, his expression unreadable. "I know a lie when I see one." The crew worked around them, prepping the ship for departure. Aurora's reflection came, quiet but fierce. Humanity isn't just surviving. We're rewriting the rules. Her naivety was gone, replaced by a leader's resolve, forged in the crucible of Marcus's fight. The conquered lands hummed, ready to leave Ossuary. Lyra's empire teetered, their betrayal a wound the galaxy wouldn't forget. Marcus leaned against a console, his suit a wreck, but his mission clear. The truth had broken free, and humanity stood stronger for it. The stars outside gleamed, cold and endless. But for the first time, they felt like a challenge humanity could meet. The conquered lance gleamed under Ossuary Station's neon glow, its patched hull a badge of survival as it prepared to depart. Marcus Vale stood on the bridge, his tattered suit hanging loose, scars visible where fabric had burned away. The stars outside the viewport stretched into infinity, a silent challenge humanity now faced with newfound steel. Aurora Price moved beside him, her silver-white attire catching the soft light, her posture tall and unshaken. The galaxy had shifted, Lyra's betrayal had borne, their once trusted name now a curse on every diplomatic channel. Humanity had turned the tide, and the Concorde lance carried that truth home. Aurora addressed the crew, her voice clear and steady, carrying the weight of their victory. Marcus's tactics and our legal fight forced Lyra to their knees. We're not just survivors, we're players now. The crew cheered, their faces lit with pride. She'd been naive once, trusting Lyra's polished promises, but the woman who stood here was different. Forged in betrayal, she wielded words like blades, her leadership a beacon for humanity's rise. She glanced at Marcus, a faint warmth in her eyes, a bond unspoken but real, born in the chaos they'd overcome together. Lyra's treaty lay signed, seeding trade routes and reparations under the galaxy's glare. Their merchant council, once haughty, now scrambled to salvage their name. But the damage was done. Diplomats who toasted Lyra's alliance now shunned them, their voices thick with scorn. "They lied to us all," one muttered on a holofeed, the sting of betrayal raw. Humanity's envoys stood taller, their grief turned to strength. New Star Systems opened talks, drawn to humanity's verified honor, a reputation carved by Marcus's shadow and Aurora's law. Marcus remained silent, his lean frame leaning against a console, eyes scanning for threats that weren't there. His role as protector hadn't changed, but the galaxy had. Kestrel's encrypted message blinked on his comm. "Next bomb's on me, suit." The cyborg's grudging respect made Marcus's lip twitch, the closest he came to a smile. He didn't need thanks. The job was done. The Vorn Legion had disbanded their Lyra contracts, fearing the phantoms spreading like wildfire. Mercenary guilds blacklisted human targets, whispering tales of a ghost who toppled empires with a suit and a plan. In a distant bar, mercenaries huddled over drinks, their voices low with awe. "Forget contracts on humans," one said, raising a glass. "They sent death in a suit, and he broke Lyra without firing a shot." The toast spread, a salute to the end of blind trust in false allies. Humanity's legend grew, a story told in shadows and starlight, its edge sharp enough to cut through galactic lies. The Concord Lance set course for Earth, escorted by a human fleet, their ships a quiet promise of strength. Aurora stood beside Marcus, her fingers brushing his arm, a fleeting touch, heavy with meaning. "We changed things, didn't we?" she said, her voice soft but firm. Marcus nodded, his gaze on the stars. "We showed them what humans can do." The words were simple, but they carried the weight of his scars, his fights, his relentless precision. The bridge hummed with activity, crew members plotting the jump home. Aurora's transformation was complete. Her naivety burned away, replaced by a leader who'd faced betrayal and turned it into triumph. Marcus, too, had shifted, still the silent protector, but now a legend whispered across the stars. He pulled a new pen from his pocket, its nano-edge glinting as he polished it with a rag. Ready for the next crisis, always ready. Aurora stepped to the viewport, her voice low, speaking to the crew but also to herself. "We were blindsided, trusting allies who played us for fools. But we didn't break. We fought, with brains, with guts, with everything we had. Humanity's not just a speck in the galaxy anymore. We're a force, and we'll keep proving it." Her words hung in the air, a quiet vow, her pride in humanity a fire that wouldn't fade. The crew nodded, their faces reflecting her resolve, their trust in her absolute. The stars blurred as the Concord Lance jumped, its engines a steady hum. Marcus stood watch, his pen tucked away, his eyes on the void. Humanity's honor was secured, not just in treaties, but in the truth they'd carved from Lyra's lies. The galaxy had learned, underestimate humans at your peril. The ship sailed on, a symbol of resilience, carrying Marcus, Aurora, and their hard-won victory toward Earth. The future waited, vast and unyielding, but for the first time it felt like theirs to shape.